And we are joined now by the two senators joining forces on that legislation to protect the special counsel, Robert Mueller, Republican Thom Tillis of North Carolina, Democrat Chris Coons of Delaware. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me right now. And Senator Tillis, let me begin with you right now. You just heard Kellyanne Conway right there. No commitment from the president not to fire Robert Mueller. She says you're going to have to go to his lawyer for that, although she says it's not being discussed. Your legislation would give a judge the ability to review any decision by the president to fire Robert Mueller. Why do you think it's so necessary?
We interrupt our programming. This is a national emergency. Important details will follow. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. NORAD has detected the launch of 4 nuclear missiles from North Korea. They are headed for 3 targets on the west coast of the continental United States: Seattle, Portland, and Los Angeles. The 4th missile is heading for Honolulu, Hawaii. The missile heading for Hawaii is expected to impact in 45 minutes, and those heading for the west coast are expected to hit within the hour. At this time, all residents in and within a 400-mile radius of these cities should seek a fallout shelter. Fallout is a product of nuclear attacks. Prolonged exposure to fallout will result in certain death. It will only take a minute after impact for the effects of fallout to spread. If you cannot find a fallout shelter, local authorities will lead you to one. Take a battery-powered radio and all necessary supplies to your fallout shelter. Tune to 770 AM for information during your stay. Remember to turn off all ventilation systems, heating and air conditioning units. Close your doors and windows, and seal any cracks. If you decide to shelter in place, it isn't known if any more attacks will occur. The President will be speaking on all stations shortly. Stand by for this message. This is an emergency action notification. All broadcast and cable systems will transmit this emergency action notification message. This station has interrupted its regular programming at the request of the White House to participate in the emergency alert system. During this emergency, most stations will remain on the air, providing news and information to the public in assigned areas. This is KCPQ. We will continue to serve the Seattle area. If you are not in this local area, tune now to a station providing news and information for your area. You are listening to the emergency alert system serving the Seattle area. Do not use your telephone. The telephone lines should be kept open for emergency use. The emergency alert system has been activated.
And his team. They've pointed out, they said that Robert Mueller has a conflict because he's a friend with the former FBI director. They say, James Comey, although both Comey and Mueller say it's been a close professional relationship. They say that the fact that several members of the team, of the lawyers on the team, have given contributions to Democrats in the past is signs of a conflict. They also say that if Robert Mueller starts to look at the president's finances, that will be crossing a red line. Any of those concern you?
They don't. Frankly, Bob Mueller is one of the most respected senior federal law enforcement officials in modern American history. I'll remind you, he's a Republican who was appointed by a Republican. And I agree with Senator Tillis, with Tom, that it is in everyone's best interest for Bob Mueller to be able to carry forward this investigation to its conclusion so that we can get back to working in a responsible and bipartisan way to address the real issues facing this nation. It's in President Trump's interest. It's in the interest of protecting rule of law for Bob Mueller to be allowed to continue this investigation to its conclusion.
And Senator Tillis, have you seen anything in this investigation so far that would suggest that Robert Mueller has a conflict?
No, I haven't. I sit on the Judiciary Committee along with Chris or Senator Coons, and I have not seen any evidence to suggest that. And that's why I want this investigation to just follow through to an expedient conclusion, again, so that we can get back to fulfilling the promises we made the American people that the president is already working on. We need to be solely focused on that.
What would it mean, Senator Tillis, if the president fired Robert Mueller? What would the consequences be in your view?
Well, I think it's another example. To me, the reputation of the Department of Justice has suffered some hits in the past. It would just be another piece of fodder or fodder for people who are trying to discredit what I consider to be one of the most important parts of the administration and the FBI within the Department of Justice. I'm working very hard, and I know that Senator Coons is too, to reestablish the integrity of this department, which is critically important to restore the confidence of the American people.
Senator Coons, Republican Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona has suggested that if the president does indeed fire Robert Mueller, the Congress should think about hiring him. Would you be open to that?
I would. I think if the president should fire Robert Mueller abruptly, that would be crossing a big line. And I think you would see strong bipartisan action from the Senate, which might include our reinstating him or our hiring him to continue to conduct that investigation on behalf of Congress.
Let me bring up
George. One thing I would like to put there, though, I don't want this day to become a narrative to where we think that the president is headed in that direction. Kellyanne Conway said that she hasn't had discussions with the president on this matter. Our effort here is just to take that off the table, any sort of precipitous removal. But we don't have any specific evidence to suggest the president is going to do that. This is policy that lives beyond this administration, incidentally, and it's important policy, I think, going forward.
Point well taken. I want to bring up another subject while I have you both, and that's health care. Since the effort to repeal Obamacare has failed, lots of concern that the health insurance markets are going to implode over the next week if Congress doesn't pass bipartisan legislation to keep up those subsidy payments. Your colleague, Senator Tillis Lamar Alexander, is working on that in a bipartisan fashion. Is that legislation you support and you think the president should sign?
I met with the Senator Alexander and others to talk about what we can do to stabilize the market. I, for one, I think Chris probably had a different view, but I was disappointed that we didn't get the votes to move forward with the health care reform bill a couple of weeks ago. But we've got a destabilized market where insurance rates are going to go up 20, 30, 40% next year. Anything that we can do to prevent that and the damage that will have on people who need health care, I think, is something I have to look at.
The president hasn't committed to keeping those subsidies going to the insurance companies, Senator Tillis. What's your message to him?
Well, the cost-sharing reductions over time need to be eliminated, but we can't just all of a sudden pull the rug out from underneath an industry that's had this in place for about 7 years. So in an ideal world, I'd like to see them go away overnight, but we don't live in an ideal world. If we don't provide some glide path downward, it will have the effect of raising insurance premiums, and that's why we've got to come up with some sort of balance. And I think the administration understands that.
Senator Coons?
I agree with Tom. What I've heard in Delaware is that about half of the projected increase in annual rates is because of uncertainty in the marketplace. And so we need to come together quickly in a bipartisan way to strengthen and stabilize the individual marketplace. We also need to begin working across the aisle to find ways to fix what is not working about the Affordable Care Act while still keeping in place the expansions that made better health care accessible for millions of Americans.
Remarkable amount of bipartisan agreement between the two of you today. Senator Tillis, that's not sitting well with everyone in your base. Laura Ingraham is out this morning with a tweet saying another Republican senator who doesn't understand that there are 3 branches of government. Any response?
Well, the response is the irony in the statement. I work in Congress. I'm a member of the Senate. My job is to assert the authority of the Congress as a co-equal branch. So for that particular person, they may want to go back and study up on Civics 101.
Senators, thank you both very much.
Thank you, George.